My name is Margaret, and I'm 68 years old. What I'm about to tell you happened 6 months ago, but I remember every detail as if it were yesterday. It's a story about pride, humiliation, and the most satisfying moment of poetic justice I've ever witnessed. And it all started with a birthday party I should never have attended. Let me take you back to the beginning, because to understand what happened, you need to know about my relationship with my daughter-in-law, Vanessa. My son Robert married Vanessa 4 years ago, and from day one, I tried my absolute best to welcome her into our family. I really did. But Vanessa made it very clear that she tolerated my presence rather than welcomed it. She was always polite in front of Robert, always smiled and said the right things, but when my son wasn't looking, the warmth disappeared from her eyes like someone had flipped a switch. Little comments here and there, backhanded compliments, the kind of subtle cruelty that's hard to prove but impossible to ignore. "Oh, Margaret, that's such an interesting outfit. Very vintage," she'd say with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Or, "I love how you don't worry about staying current with things. It must be so freeing to just let go like that." But I kept my mouth shut. Why? Because I loved my son, and he seemed happy. And honestly, I kept hoping that maybe, just maybe, Vanessa would warm up to me over time, that we could build a real relationship. I was willing to be patient. I was willing to try. Then, about 2 months before the incident, Robert called me with exciting news. "Mom, Vanessa's turning 30 next month, and I want to throw her an amazing surprise party." But here's the thing. He paused, and I could hear the hesitation in his voice. "Money's been really tight lately. We just bought the house, and Vanessa's been stressed about finances. I can't afford the kind of party she deserves." My heart broke a little hearing the worry in my son's voice. Robert has always been a hard worker, always trying to provide for his family. The idea that he couldn't give his wife the celebration he wanted to give her clearly ate at him. "How much are we talking about?" "Well, to do it right, to rent a nice venue, get catering, decorations, the whole thing, probably around $15,000. But Mom, I'm not asking you for money. I'm just venting, you know? I'll figure something out." But I had already made my decision. "Robert, let me do this. Let me pay for Vanessa's party. Consider it my gift to both of you." "Mom, no, that's way too much. I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering. I want to do this, sweetheart. Your father, God rest his soul, left me well provided for. This money is meant to be used for family, for moments that matter. Let me help." There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and when Robert spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "Are you sure, Mom?" "I'm absolutely sure, but there's one condition." "What's that?" "Don't tell Vanessa the money came from me. Let her think you saved up for it, that you made this happen. I want her to see what an amazing husband she has. This is your gift to her, not mine." "Mom, that doesn't seem right. You should get credit for—" "Robert, I don't need credit. I need you to let me do this my way. Promise me you won't tell her." He finally agreed, though reluctantly. And so began 2 months of the most intensive party planning I've ever been part of. Robert and I met secretly, going over every detail. We rented the ballroom at the Riverside Country Club, one of the most elegant venues in our city. We hired the best caterer in town. We arranged for a live band, professional photography, custom floral arrangements, and a cake that was practically a work of art. Every time I transferred money to Robert's account, every time I helped him coordinate with vendors, I felt a warm glow of satisfaction, not because I was spending money, but because I was helping my son give his wife something special. I imagined Vanessa's face when she walked into that beautiful party. I imagined her throwing her arms around Robert, overwhelmed by his love and thoughtfulness. Maybe, I thought, this would be a turning point. Maybe, seeing how much Robert loved her, how much effort went into celebrating her, would soften her heart toward me. Maybe she'd see that we were family, and family takes care of each other. God, I was naive. The night of the party arrived, and I spent 2 hours getting ready. I wanted to look nice, to fit in with what I knew would be an elegant event. I wore my best dress, the navy blue one with the pearl buttons that my late husband always said made my eyes sparkle. I did my hair and makeup carefully. I even splurged on a new pair of shoes. As I drove to the country club, I felt genuinely excited. Nervous, yes, but excited. This was going to be a good night, a celebration, a chance for our family to come together and make happy memories. The ballroom looked absolutely stunning when I arrived. The decorator had transformed it into a sophisticated wonderland of white and gold. Fairy lights twinkled everywhere. The tables were set with crisp white linens and gorgeous centerpieces of white roses and gold accents. The cake, a 4-tier masterpiece, sat on a special table surrounded by even more flowers. Soft jazz music played from the speakers while the band set up. It was perfect. Everything was absolutely perfect. I found Robert near the entrance, looking handsome in his suit and checking his watch anxiously. When he saw me, his whole face lit up. "Mom, you made it, and you look beautiful." "You don't look so bad yourself," I said, straightening his tie, even though it didn't need straightening, a mother's habit. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," he admitted with a nervous laugh. "What if she doesn't like it? What if it's too much, or—" "Robert, honey, she's going to love it. How could she not? Look at this place. It's magnificent." And it truly was. Guests began arriving, all dressed to the nines. I recognized some of Vanessa's friends from previous gatherings, some of Robert's college buddies, various relatives. Everyone exclaimed over the beauty of the venue, the elegance of the decorations. Robert beamed with pride, and I felt my heart swell watching him. "You did good, son," I whispered to him. "You did real good." Then someone shouted, "She's here! Everyone hide!" The lights dimmed, everyone crouched behind tables, chairs, anything available. The room went silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. This was it, the moment we'd all been waiting for. The doors opened, Vanessa walked in, and Robert flipped the lights on as everyone jumped up, screaming, "Surprise!" Vanessa's reaction was everything we'd hoped for. Her hands flew to her face, her mouth dropped open, and tears immediately sprang to her eyes. She looked absolutely stunning in a fitted red dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled. For a moment, she just stood there, overwhelmed, taking it all in. Then she ran to Robert, throwing her arms around him. "Oh my God! Oh my God! You did all this? For me?" "Happy birthday, baby," Robert said, holding her tight. "You deserve the world." She pulled back, looking at him with tears streaming down her face. "But how? How did you afford all this? The venue alone must have cost—" "Don't worry about that," Robert said, glancing quickly at me. "I've been saving. I wanted to give you something special for your 30th. You only turned 30 once, right?" Vanessa looked around the room again, and I watched her take in every detail. The flowers, the cake, the elegant table settings, the bar set up in the corner with a professional bartender, the band tuning their instruments on the small stage. Her expression was one of pure joy and wonder. For a moment, just a moment, I felt validated in my decision. This was worth every penny. Seeing that happiness on her face, knowing I'd helped create this moment for my son and his wife, it felt good. It felt right. Then Vanessa's eyes landed on me, and something shifted. The joy dimmed just slightly. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second before she pasted it back on. But I saw it. I definitely saw it. She made her way around the room, greeting guests, accepting hugs and birthday wishes. When she finally reached me, I opened my arms for a hug. "Happy birthday, Vanessa. You look absolutely beautiful." She gave me a brief, stiff hug, the kind you give someone at a business function, not family. "Thank you, Margaret. I'm surprised to see you here." The words hit me like a slap. Surprised? Honey, you're my daughter-in-law. Of course I'm here for your birthday. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course. Well, excuse me. I need to greet my other guests. And she was gone, leaving me standing there, feeling suddenly cold, despite the warmth of the crowded room. The evening progressed, and I tried to shake off that uncomfortable interaction. The band started playing, people began dancing, the food was served, and it was all absolutely spectacular. The catering company had outdone themselves. Filet mignon, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, gourmet salads, and more varieties of hors d'oeuvres than I could count. I tried to mingle, tried to enjoy myself. I chatted with a few of Robert's relatives, complimented some of Vanessa's friends on their dresses, but I couldn't help noticing that every time I got near Vanessa or her inner circle of friends, conversations would pause, looks would be exchanged, someone would suggest moving to another part of the room. About an hour into the party, I was standing near the dessert table, watching Robert dance with Vanessa. They looked so happy together, and despite everything, that made me smile. Maybe I was being oversensitive about Vanessa's reaction. Maybe she was just overwhelmed. It was a big night after all. That's when I overheard Vanessa's best friend, a woman named Courtney, talking to another guest. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, I swear. I just happened to be reaching for a petit four when I heard my name. "I can't believe she actually showed up," Courtney said, not even bothering to lower her voice. "Vanessa is going to be so annoyed." "Who?" the other woman asked. "Robert's mother, Margaret, the woman in the blue dress over there. Vanessa specifically told Robert she didn't want her here tonight." My hand froze halfway to the dessert plate. The words felt like ice water dumped over my head. "Really? Why?" the other woman asked, craning her neck to look at me. "Oh, mother-in-law drama. Vanessa says she's passive-aggressive and clingy, always trying to insert herself into their lives. This is Vanessa's night, her party, her friends. She wanted it to be about her, without having to deal with Robert's overbearing mother hovering around." The petit four fell from my fingers onto the plate with a soft thud. I stood there, frozen, as the full weight of those words sank in. Vanessa had specifically asked Robert not to invite me. My son had either overruled her or deliberately went against her wishes to include me. And every penny of this party, every single beautiful detail that Vanessa was currently enjoying had come from my savings account. I felt sick, actually physically sick. My chest tightened, and for a moment I thought I might need to sit down, but I didn't. I stood there, taking deep breaths, trying to process this information. Part of me wanted to leave right then, to just slip out quietly and go home. But another part of me, a stubborn part that my late husband used to say was my best quality, refused to run away. I had as much right to be here as anyone else. I was the mother of the groom, so to speak, and whether Vanessa liked it or not, I was family. So I stayed. I plastered a smile on my face and continued mingling. But the joy had gone out of the evening for me. Every laugh from Vanessa's direction felt like it might be at my expense. Every time she whispered to her friends, I wondered if she was complaining about my presence. Then came the cake-cutting ceremony. Robert called everyone to gather around as Vanessa stood in front of that magnificent 4-tier cake, her eyes shining with delight. The photographer positioned himself to get the perfect shot. The guests pressed in closer, phones out to capture the moment. Robert gave a short, sweet speech about how much he loved his wife, how lucky he was to have her in his life, how he'd move heaven and earth to make her happy. It was beautiful, and despite everything, I felt tears prick my eyes. That was my son up there, the baby I'd raised, now a man declaring his love for his wife. How could I not be moved? Then Vanessa took the microphone. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. This party is absolutely incredible, beyond anything I could have imagined. She turned to Robert, her eyes soft. And thank you to my amazing husband, who somehow managed to pull all this off. This venue, this food, this band, everything is just perfect. You're perfect. She kissed Robert to a chorus of ahs from the crowd, and I felt a complex tangle of emotions. Pride in my son, who she believed had done all this for her. Sadness that she didn't know the truth, and growing anger that this woman, who had specifically tried to exclude me from this celebration, was reaping the benefits of my generosity. They cut the cake together, fed each other small bites while everyone cheered. The photographer captured it all. It should have been a perfect moment, and it was for everyone else. For me, it was becoming increasingly bittersweet. I retreated to a corner of the room, nursing a glass of wine I wasn't really drinking, just watching, observing how Vanessa held court with her friends, how she laughed and danced and accepted compliment after compliment about my party, the one I'd paid for. That's when I noticed her glancing in my direction more frequently. At first, I thought maybe she was feeling guilty about excluding me, that perhaps Courtney had told her I'd overheard their conversation. But the looks weren't apologetic. They were irritated, annoyed. Then Vanessa pulled Robert aside, and even from across the room, I could see the tension in their body language. She was gesturing, looking frustrated. Robert was shaking his head, clearly trying to calm her down. They went back and forth for several minutes, and with each exchange, Robert's expression grew more pained. Finally, Robert looked directly at me, his face a mixture of apology and distress. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Vanessa broke away from Robert and started walking toward me, her heels clicking purposefully on the hardwood floor. Her face was set in a hard expression that made her look years older. Gone was the birthday girl glowing with joy. In her place was a woman on a mission, and I was clearly her target. "Margaret," she said, her voice tight, "can I speak with you for a moment, outside?" Everyone nearby had gone quiet, sensing the change in atmosphere. I could feel eyes on us, curious, concerned. This was not good. Whatever was about to happen was not going to be good. "Of course," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lead the way." We walked through the crowd, which parted like the Red Sea. I could hear the whispers starting before we even reached the door. Robert tried to follow, but Vanessa held up her hand. "Stay here, honey. I'll handle this." Those words, "I'll handle this," like I was a problem that needed to be dealt with, a mess that needed to be cleaned up. We stepped out onto the country club's terrace. It was a beautiful night, warm with a gentle breeze. Under different circumstances, it would have been romantic. Instead, it felt like walking to my execution. Vanessa turned to face me, and all pretense of politeness evaporated. "I'm going to be direct, Margaret, because clearly subtle hints don't work with you. I didn't want you here tonight." "I know," I said quietly. "I overheard your friend Courtney explaining that to someone. She didn't even have the grace to look embarrassed. Then you know that your presence here is unwelcome. This is my party, my special night, and I shouldn't have to spend it feeling uncomfortable in my own celebration." "Vanessa, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. You're just what? Being a mother-in-law? Inserting yourself where you're not wanted? I've tried to be patient with you, Margaret. I really have. But you don't seem to understand boundaries. This party is for me and my friends, not for you to play the doting grandmother-in-law or whatever role you think you're supposed to fill." The words kept coming, each one sharper than the last, and I felt something inside me crack. Not break, not yet, but definitely. "I told Robert not to invite you," she continued, her voice rising slightly. "I was very clear about it, but apparently he felt sorry for you and brought you anyway. Well, I've had enough. I shouldn't have to deal with this on my birthday." "Deal with what?" I asked, and I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "Deal with your husband's mother attending a family celebration? Don't play innocent. You know exactly what I mean. The way you hover, the way you always have to be involved in everything. The passive-aggressive comments, the judgment in your eyes every time I make a decision you don't agree with. I'm tired of it, Margaret. I'm tired of pretending we're one big happy family when we both know you've never approved of me." And there it was, the accusation I'd never voiced but apparently radiated anyway. And the truly awful thing was, there might have been a grain of truth to it. Had I judged her? Maybe. Had I thought she wasn't quite good enough for my son? Perhaps. But I'd tried to keep those thoughts to myself, tried to give her a fair chance. Apparently, I hadn't succeeded as well as I thought. "Vanessa, I'm sorry if I've made you feel judged or uncomfortable. That was never my intention. I've only ever wanted to be part of my son's life, to welcome you into our family. Well, you can be part of his life without being part of mine. And right now, I'm asking you to leave. This is my party, and I want you to go." The crack inside me widened. "You're asking me to leave?" "I'm not asking, Margaret. I'm telling you. Leave, now, before you ruin the rest of my evening." I stood there, looking at this woman who had just ordered me out of a party I had paid for. This woman who was wearing a smile bought with my money, celebrating in a venue secured with my credit card, eating food I had funded, enjoying music I had arranged, and she didn't know. She had no idea. Part of me, the vindictive part, wanted to tell her right then and there, wanted to watch her face as the truth hit her. But another part, the part that was still my son's mother, held back, because revealing the truth would hurt Robert too, would embarrass him in front of all his friends and family. "Please," I said, hating how my voice shook, "please don't do this. Don't make me leave my son's celebration." "Your celebration?" Vanessa laughed, a harsh sound. "This isn't Robert's party. It's mine. And I want you gone. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. You can leave with dignity, or I can have security escort you out. Your choice. Behind us, the door opened. Robert stepped out, his face anguished. Vanessa, please, you can't. I can, and I am. Your mother is leaving. Now. Mom, Robert started, moving toward me. I'm so sorry. I didn't think she'd... It's okay, sweetheart, I said, and I was surprised to find I meant it, because suddenly I was very, very tired. Tired of fighting for a relationship that Vanessa clearly never wanted. Tired of hoping she'd warm up to me. Tired of being the problem. I'll go. No, Mom, wait. Robert, let me handle this, Vanessa interrupted. Say goodbye to your mother. The dismissive way she said it, like I was a child being sent home early from a playdate, finally broke something in me. The careful control I'd been maintaining shattered. You want me gone? I said, and my voice was no longer shaking. It was steady, cold. Fine, I'll go. But first, I think there's something you should know. Margaret, Robert started, panic in his voice. No, Robert, she wants the truth. Let's give her the truth. I turned to Vanessa, meeting her eyes directly. This party, this beautiful, elegant, expensive party you're enjoying so much, your husband didn't pay for it. I did. The color drained from Vanessa's face. What? Every single penny. The venue, the caterer, the band, the flowers, the cake. Everything you've been celebrating and posting on Instagram and bragging to your friends about, I paid for all of it. $15,000 from my savings account because my son wanted to give you the party you deserved, and he couldn't afford it on his own. You could have heard a pin drop. Behind Vanessa, I saw that several guests had gathered near the door, drawn by the raised voices. They'd heard everything. That's not... Vanessa started, but her voice faltered. She looked at Robert. Tell her she's lying. Tell me she's lying. Robert's face was a mask of misery. She's not lying, Vanessa. Mom offered to help, to pay for your party. She wanted to do something nice for us. And you let her? Vanessa's voice was rising now, tinged with something between humiliation and rage. You let your mother pay for my birthday party and didn't tell me? You asked me not to tell her, Robert said to me. You made me promise. I did, I acknowledged, because I thought this was going to be a gift that would make everyone happy. I thought you would appreciate having a beautiful party to celebrate turning 30. I never imagined that the guest of honor would kick me out of an event I funded. More people had gathered at the door now. I could see Courtney, her hand over her mouth. I could see other guests pulling out their phones, probably texting about this incredible drama unfolding. Part of me was horrified that it had come to this, but another part, the part that had been pushed too far, felt a savage satisfaction. Vanessa's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her mortification. This is your fault, she said to Robert, her voice shaking. You should have told me. You should have... Should have what? I interrupted. Told you so you could refuse the gift? So you could deprive yourself of this beautiful party out of pride or spite? How dare you? Vanessa hissed. How dare you throw your money in my face like this? Acting like some kind of martyr? You probably planned this whole thing, didn't you? Paid for everything just so you'd have ammunition against me later? Actually, I said, my voice cutting through her accusation like a knife. I paid for it because I love my son, and because I hoped, foolishly it turns out, That maybe doing something generous for you would help us build a better relationship. But you've made it very clear tonight that you have no interest in that. So yes, Vanessa, I'll leave. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your party. The party I paid for. The party you tried to have me thrown out of. I turned to Robert, softening my voice. I love you, sweetheart. Happy birthday to your wife. I hope she enjoys the rest of her celebration. I walked back toward the door, and the crowd parted. Every eye was on me, and I kept my head high. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Not yet, not here. But I stopped at the doorway and turned back one last time. Vanessa was still standing there, looking shell-shocked, while Robert tried to talk to her. She was shaking her head repeatedly, her perfect party now completely derailed. "One more thing, Vanessa," I called out, and she looked up at me. "Next time you want to exclude someone from a family event, you might want to make sure they're not the one paying for it." And with that, I left. I walked through the beautiful ballroom I'd helped create, past the elegant decorations and the stunning cake, through the well-dressed guests who were all staring and whispering. I held my head high the entire way to my car. Only when I was safely inside with the doors locked did I finally let the tears come. I sat in the parking lot of the Riverside Country Club and cried. For my son, who was probably devastated. For myself, for the humiliation and hurt. For the relationship with my daughter-in-law that now had zero chance of being repaired. For the family unity that had just been destroyed in front of 50 witnesses. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually, my phone started ringing. It was Robert, but I couldn't talk to him yet, not while I was this raw. So I let it go to voicemail and drove home. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and text messages. Most were from Robert, increasingly desperate. A few were from other family members who'd been at the party, asking if I was okay. And, surprisingly, several were from guests I barely knew, reaching out to tell me they thought Vanessa had behaved terribly and that I'd handled the situation with grace. But the message that mattered most came from Robert. He showed up at my door at 9 a.m., looking like he hadn't slept at all. "Mom," he said, when I opened the door. His eyes were red-rimmed. "Can I come in?" We sat in my kitchen, and Robert told me everything. How the party had completely fallen apart after I left. How guests had started leaving early, the celebration effectively over. How Vanessa had spent the rest of the night in the bathroom, crying and angry. How they'd driven home in complete silence. "She's mortified," Robert said, "and angry. Mostly at me for not telling her you'd paid for everything, but also at herself, I think, for how she treated you." "And what about you?" I asked, gently. Robert looked at me, and I saw my little boy in his eyes again. "I feel like I let you down, Mom. You did this incredibly generous thing, and I let it blow up in your face. I should have told Vanessa the truth from the beginning. I should have insisted you get credit for what you did." "I didn't want credit," I said. "I wanted you both to be happy." "But that's not what happened, is it?" He rubbed his face with both hands. "Mom, I need to ask you something. Why did you really not want Vanessa to know you'd paid for the party?" I was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to answer honestly. "Because I knew she wouldn't accept it if she knew it came from me. And I didn't want you to miss out on giving her something special because of whatever issues she and I have. I thought if she believed you'd done it, she could just enjoy it without any complicated feelings about accepting my help. But that backfired spectacularly, didn't it?" It certainly did, I agreed with a sad laugh. Robert was quiet for a long moment. I think Vanessa and I need to have some serious conversations about respect, about family, about what our marriage is going to look like going forward. Because, Mom, what she did to you last night, that's not okay. You didn't deserve that. No, I said softly. And for what it's worth, half the guests at that party sent me messages this morning saying they thought Vanessa was out of line. The story's probably going to make the rounds. Her social media posts about the amazing party her husband threw for her are going to look pretty bad now that everyone knows the truth. I hadn't even thought about that aspect. Vanessa had been posting all night, I was sure. Photos of the venue, the cake, the decorations, probably with captions about her wonderful husband and her perfect party. And now everyone knew the real story. I didn't mean to humiliate her, I said, and I found that I meant it. I couldn't let her throw me out without knowing the truth. She humiliated herself, Mom. You just defended yourself. Over the following weeks, the fallout continued. Vanessa refused to speak to me at all, which honestly was a relief. Robert reported that she was struggling with the embarrassment of the situation, especially as word spread through their social circle. Some of her friends had apparently turned on her, saying she'd been cruel and ungrateful. Others defended her, claiming I'd overstepped boundaries by paying for the party without her knowledge, and then weaponizing my generosity. The debate raged on social media, with people who hadn't even been there weighing in with their opinions. For my part, I stayed quiet. I didn't post about it, didn't respond to messages from people asking for my side of the story. What had happened at that party spoke for itself. I didn't need to add fuel to the fire. But here's the thing that surprised me most. I didn't regret speaking up. Yes, it had been dramatic. Yes, it had caused problems for Robert and Vanessa's marriage. Yes, it had turned into a social media spectacle. But for years, I'd swallowed Vanessa's subtle cruelties, her passive-aggressive comments, her clear disdain for me. I'd stayed quiet to keep the peace, to not make things difficult for Robert. And where had that gotten me? To a point where I'd paid $15,000 for a party I'd been ordered to leave. Standing up for myself, refusing to be dismissed and humiliated, that felt right, even if it had come at a cost. 3 months after the incident, Robert called to tell me that he and Vanessa were going to marriage counseling. "We have a lot to work through," he said. "The party was just a symptom of bigger issues we've been avoiding. But we're trying, Mom. We're really trying." I told him I was proud of him for working on his marriage. And I meant it. I don't hate Vanessa. I don't wish for their marriage to fail. But I also won't apologize for defending myself. As for whether Vanessa and I will ever have a good relationship, I honestly don't know. Maybe one day, if she can let go of her pride and I can forgive the hurt. But if not, that's okay too. I've learned that you can't force relationships, especially when one person has made it clear they don't want one. What I can tell you is this: never let anyone, not even family, treat you as less than you are. Never apologize for defending your dignity. And never, ever let someone kick you out of a party you paid for without them knowing exactly what they're doing. My name is Margaret. I'm 68 years old. And 6 months ago, I was thrown out of a party I'd funded, but I didn't go quietly. And I don't regret that for a second. If you've ever been in a situation where someone took advantage of your generosity, where you were made to feel small by someone who should have appreciated you, I hope my story gives you courage. Speak up. Stand up for yourself. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it causes drama. Your dignity is worth it. Have you ever experienced something like this with a family member? Has someone ever tried to exclude you from an event you helped make possible? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experiences matter. You're not alone in dealing with difficult family dynamics. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own relationships or gave you courage to stand up for yourself, please subscribe to this channel. There are so many stories of women like me, women over 60 who refuse to be dismissed or diminished just because of our age. Stories of standing up to entitled daughters-in-law, ungrateful relatives, and anyone else who thinks they can take advantage of our kindness. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss future stories. Because here's what I've learned in my 68 years. Our voices matter. Our experiences matter. And the more we share our stories, the more we empower each other to refuse to be treated as less than we deserve. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, you are never too old to stand up for yourself. You are never too old to demand respect, and you are never too old to say, enough is enough. Until next time, this is Margaret, reminding you that dignity doesn't have an expiration date.